Tell us about this story, which is on the front of the Financial Times this morning. This idea of trying to shame energy traders into stopping handling Russian oil. It was very useful when we were trying to shame firms like Shell and BP into changing their ways with Russia. But actual energy traders, who are they? Will it be useful if they stopped handling Russian oil? And are they easily shamed?
Well, to be honest, this is largely a move by politicians to try and shift the action away from themselves and find someone else to blame for their inaction. There's obviously the large energy trading houses, the likes of Vitol, Trafigura, Mercuria, and so forth, that and all the major oil companies have large trading operations as well. To be honest, these companies are shying away from handling Russian energy at the moment because they don't want to get captured by the sanctions that are already in place. What we are seeing is a lot of the European nations are talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. For example, no French companies have actually pulled out of Russia. So BP and Shell have terminated their operations in Russia. Total has not. It still has a 20% stake in Novatek. It said it's not going to invest anymore, but it hasn't actually withdrawn from Russia at all. So this is very much a case of the EU making big noises about it, but they're vacillating on actually doing anything. So all this talk about shaming the energy traders, that's just shifting the blame for their inaction. But most of the energy traders are avoiding it at present. It's very difficult for a lot of these companies to actually trace it. It depends on the ownership and registration of vessels. It's easy for some of these cargoes, but for some of them it's very, very difficult. And also the date that these vessels have been chartered, is it captured by sanctions or not? It's very complex.
And in terms of what the EU might do, you sort of referred to possible inaction on their part. And as I said, Simon Coveney, the Irish Foreign Minister, has said that they are actually working at the moment on an oil embargo on Russia. Can you just explain what that would mean in practice, and how difficult it would be for the EU27 to actually enact?
It's going to be very difficult. The EU gets more than a quarter of its oil needs from Russia at present. The fact is that they've talked about sanctions and the coal, for example. So they've said that they've imposed sanctions, but they're not starting till the second half of this year. They actually extended the date for the sanctions to come into play rather than bring them forward. This is something that a lot of people didn't pick up on. So the sanctions that it'll be very, very difficult for them to do that without there being a real impact on European industry. And the likelihood of achieving some sort of consensus is nigh on impossible. The nations that are heavily dependent on Russian energy, which is essentially Germany, Italy, and Austria, have opposed sanctions at every turn. And it's very unlikely that they will achieve consensus because Germany is the principal bloc. You also have Hungary as well, which is, I suppose, certainly probably the most pro-Russian of the EU states. It will also veto sanctions as well. So the chances of actually achieving something, I would say, are remote. If the EU did bite the bullet and impose sanctions, I think they would have to face the reality of energy shortages, such as rolling blackouts, rationing of energy, which would impact industry. And this would probably, in the long term, tip the EU into a recession. And as a result, I think that will be the argument that they will use to avoid doing so.